My name is Duncan Bannatyne and I'm a serial entrepreneur. I've built up a number of businesses, some of which I've sold and some of which I've kept, which are very successful. I'm now known as a successful businessman employing quite a lot of people. But it wasn't always like that. I didn't start in business until I was 30. So when I was in my 20s, I spent a lot of time going for job interviews. I never got the jobs, and that's why I started in business. Now, I'm looking for people to run my companies. And what I'm looking for is this, more than anything else, loyalty. People who come to me have got to be loyal. If you've had 20 jobs in the last year, it's going to be difficult for you to get a job with me. But I'm looking for people who come along, who know the business, know my business, have looked at it, understand it, and know what they want to do, and know where they're going. Talk me through your CV. When you answer the first question, it gives you the opportunity to talk about yourself, about what you've been doing over the last 10, 15 or 20 years. And it gives you the opportunity to sell yourself, and also it clarifies for me what you've been doing, because sometimes you can't put on paper, in actual fact, what you've been doing with your life. So all that added together really gives you the opportunity to talk for as long as you want. If you're talking too much, if you're starting to get boring, then I'll ask you to move on. But you take the opportunity and you talk. From your CV, I can see that you left a job that you wanted to go to 4 years ago. You left it 2 years ago. I want to know why you left that job. That question gives you the opportunity to talk through what you've been doing for the last 10 or 15 years. And it also gives you the opportunity to explain why you left different jobs. Perhaps you left because you had to go to different geographical areas, or because you got a promotion. But if you say that you left all these jobs because your employers didn't live up to your expectations, if you start to slag off your employers, then I will think you can't be satisfied and there's nothing I can do to make you a good employee. You're leaving a reasonably good job to come and work for me. So what do you know about my company? If you know nothing about my company, if you haven't done any research, if you haven't visited any of my facilities, then you shouldn't be sitting in front of me looking for a job. If you haven't done that, the interview will stop. What is your biggest weakness? This gives you the opportunity to be honest. If your weakness is in dealing with people and you're applying for a job in the boiler room, then it doesn't matter if you can't deal with people. If your weakness is in figures and adding up, then you can still work in a situation dealing with people. So you should know your weaknesses, because the next question is obviously going to be, what are your strengths? Tell me what you consider is your best strength. This gives you the opportunity to actually brag about yourself a bit. If your best strength is dealing with people and being in situations where everyone around you is uptight and you can actually calm things, then you should say so. And you know, the strength can be in anything. You should know your own strengths. Everyone should. Tell me what your ambitions are over, say, the next 10 or 15 years. Let me tell you, first of all, that the answer is not that you want to be sat in my chair, because to do that, you have to go out and start a business, not work for somebody. If your ambition is to get married, live in a situation where you earn a good salary, be promoted through the company over a long period of time, then that's what you should say. Tell me how you would sell our product or facility. The answer is that you would understand the product or the facility, and you would sell it on quality if you're selling from me, not on price. You've applied for the position of general manager, which means you'll have about 30 people working under you. So tell me, what do you know about employment law? I suppose the answer is to give me an honest answer, because actually, if you don't know much about employment law, we have 3 human resources directors that you would get feedback from. But if you don't know about it, tell me what you know about it. It's as simple as that. Tell me, what is your management style? Some people manage by keeping records of everything that happens. Some people manage by talking to the people on a regular basis. Some managers have monthly meetings and some have weekly meetings. All I want to know is that you have thought about it and that you have a management style. How would your friends or colleagues describe you? What I want to do is to see that you've got a basic knowledge of how you come across. It's how you're perceived. If people think you're a little bit aggressive, then I want to know about it. But I want to know that you know about it. If you're a bit pedantic, then I want to know that you know about it. I want you to really tell me what other people see in you. What salary or package do you expect to achieve? You must know the answer to that question. You must know what you're expecting. And if you don't know what you're worth, How do I know? How long have you been looking to move from your current employer? And how many people have interviewed you? The best way to answer that question is just to tell me the truth, because you might have been for 10 job interviews and never got a job, but maybe the reason is you're not very good at doing interviews, but you've continued to work where you are because your employer knows you're a good employee. I think I can probably see through that, and that's what I'm looking to do. Do you smoke? I usually get 3 answers to that question: yes, no, or what's that got to do with a job interview? What's that got to do with a job interview means they smoke. Yes means they smoke, no means they don't. I don't employ people who smoke. That's my thing. I do it. If you want to go and work somewhere else and smoke, fair enough, but don't come to me. How would you deal with an unhappy and irate customer? The answer to that question is very simple. First of all, you want to take that irate customer to somewhere quiet, away from the rest of the customers, wherever you are, and talk to them quietly and try and understand the problem. But more than anything, you need to listen to that person. How do you deal with criticism? I mean, the good answer to that question is, quite honestly, I take criticism as feedback and I improve from it. You've applied for the position of general manager with a number of people working under you. How would you best motivate that team? Many situations are different, but the best way to motivate your team is to lead by example. If you're early in the morning, if you start at 8 o'clock and you're there at 7:30, if you leave last, then you're motivating your team as to when to start and when to finish. If you work hard, if you deal with customers and you talk to your team, that's the best way to motivate them. This is my killer question. I've interviewed about 20 people for this job. Why should I give it to you? The answer to that question is not to be totally modest and not to be totally arrogant, but to tell me quite honestly why you think you're the best person for the job. Do you have any questions for me? The answer to that question has got to be yes. Some people pull out a book with a list of questions and I think, oh my God. But sometimes they say, you've answered some of those questions. There's 2 or 3 I'd like to go through with you. And if the only question is, how much are you going to pay me? Then really, that's not a very good answer. But if there's some sensible questions, they can be any type of questions that you're concerned about, then it's good to see that you're thinking about it. Have you ever been fired? And if so, why? The answer to that question has got to be an honest answer. There's no point us starting a working relationship with you lying to me. Whatever you were fired for, tell me. It might not be the end of the world. It might not be the end of the interview. If I offer you the job now, immediately, how long will it take you to decide whether or not to take it? A minute? 24 hours? A week? Do you need to discuss it with your partner? Tell me. No employer should offer you the job immediately, so it's a difficult question. But you should not accept it immediately. You want time to think about it. You probably want to discuss it with your partner. So if I was you, I'd say a week. If I offer the job now, will you have to work your notice period? The answer to that question is not, well, if I just leave, there's nothing they can do about it. The answer to that question is you will go back and tell your existing employee that you're leaving. You want to work your notice period, but if you could release you early, you'd be very grateful.